Welcome back to the box office review show for April 19th weekend, 2019. Um, Not sure what I covered in the last video. I'm going to review it all here. Breakthrough, Boy Falls Through the Ice, faith-based movie, Chrissy Metz, This Is Us, Dennis Haysbert, Topher Grace, Josh Lucas, etc. Open on Wednesday and Thursday in most of the country. It made $1,230 per theater on average. In this select theater in the South, it made 1,672. I would love to see how it did, different regions. So I'm looking to find other movie theaters where I can find more data and do this kind of speculative study as I'm doing week by week. But obviously, it made 14.6 million overall from Wednesday to Sunday. If it was more reflective of how, it made 6,792 this weekend, Friday through Sunday. So obviously, it really spiked its numbers on the weekend, only being around $1,700, going up to about $6,800. Sorry if you hear any noises in the background and stuff. Just trying to post this and do the best I can with it. Curse of La Llorona. I don't think I got into that. If I did in the last video, here we go again. 8,150 at this one select theater in the South. Numbers could even edge as high as 8,200 with margin of error, 8,300. 7860 is what it made on average per each theater across the country. Projectionists, prognosticators were only saying it was going to make around 16 million. Had that been the case, its per theater average would have been a lot lower, as you can do the math. But me holding strong with my 26 or higher prediction, it came at 26.5. A movie called After. See, I go all over the place on this. I don't think it ever really matters what goes 1 through 10. Other shows can cover what goes 1 through 10. This show is just going to cover how movies are doing at this one particular theater in the South, and how other theaters are having movies do regionally. We're looking to get one in the East, the far southeast, like Florida, up as far as Massachusetts, New Hampshire area, and then on the West Coast, and maybe even the Pacific Northwest as well, where I'm thinking that Breakthrough probably did not dry well at all, judging that its per theater average as a whole was 39.31. I'm sure on the Pacific Northwest, which tends to be less faith-based, maybe around 3,400 per theater. So these are the interesting things that I look to find and go over and everything like that. Little really underperformed at this particular theater in the South. It does have an African-American demographic. However, they just have not been turning out for this film. They have turned out for us to some extent, and other movies that skew towards more African-American audiences. However, Little really underperformed at this particular theater, 1,544 at this particular theater, whereas its nationwide average is 3,169. Its weekend total was 8.45 million. So again, if it had performed at the level that it did at this particular theater in the South, then its numbers would have been 3, 4, 5 million, something like that. So it took a 45% drop, and it's made 29.4, but on its meek budget and all that, it's going to roll its way to about 42 million. It's probably going to get eaten up pretty good by Avengers next week, because there's a lot of African Americans in the Avengers cast, and in general, I don't really believe into all that racial identity politics, demographic stuff. I feel like if Little could have crossed over better with other audiences, it would have been better for itself. So as far as I saw it, the white people in the movie seemed more like caricatures to me, or were over expository and relatively useless. So maybe they can learn something from that going forward. And that seems to go to be said for the other characters as well. They weren't exactly written by Henry David Thoreau or anything like that. It wasn't exactly a poetic movie by any means. I think the argument for that Big is one that transcends its genre. As you can't just say any movie's like Big. Big transcends its genre. It is actually not actually poetry, but it's a visual. One of the greatest things you can achieve in a visual medium. Big, very powerful movie. Pet Cemetery. I may be reviewing some things I already went over in the last video, but 1,790 at this particular theater in the South, whereas overall nationally it made 1,542. So again, if Pet Cemetery had done as well as it did the last couple of weeks at this theater in the South as it did everywhere else, its numbers would have been 60, 70 million, which is about the target that they wanted. So obviously, it shows that they weren't reaching beyond their horror demographic, because this is a theater that skews heavy towards horror. Um, that being said, I was gonna write down Unplanned. It took a big hit from Breakthrough. I'm just kind of like done with that movie. Having watched some of it, it's basically one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And I'll never reveal what my beliefs are on the subject, but suffice it to say, I'm not one that's opposed to their beliefs. And I just found the movie to suck, like really suck, bad, really bad. I have expectations when I watch something, even if it's didactic and preaching to the choir, or something that I believe or don't believe in or whatever, that at least is entertaining. So I don't really want to point out that that this is above or below its number, because it's such a low number. I think I already covered Teen Spirit. It only made like $80 at this particular theater in the South, which is really abysmal. But it only made $300 or $400 at various theaters across the country. So what an absolute flop for Max Minghella, the son of Anthony Minghella, a friend of mine that I met many years back, who's now passed away, but one of the greatest directors of the modern era. Another movie underperformed, I mean, overperformed at its two locations, but it's only going to get those two locations as far as I know. It's called Under the Silver Lake. Maybe it will expand more. Made by a friend of mine, David Robert Mitchell. It's a second movie following up a movie that he made called It Follows. So I don't want this video to go on too much longer. Missing Link, I think I may have already covered. If not, it was $820 per theater at this particular theater in the South, and then per theater average as a whole, $1,271. So as you can see, it's just not drawing here. This theater still is liking Dragon to the higher extent than what other people are liking Dragon. Dragon's getting pulled of locations, and here this one is just not cutting into Dragon as far. I mean, it's outdrawing Dragon, but people are still going to watch Dragon, because there's basically just three choices for families right now: Dumbo, Missing Link, or Captain Marvel to some extent, or the other one I mentioned. So yeah, Breakthrough took all the available family audiences. Like I said, we went over that one. Why people aren't directly saying Shazam is a flop, I don't know. I think it's really weird. I think it's pretty clear it's a pretty big flop. I don't care if the movie costs a lot less to make and less to advertise. It still costs something. So let's just say it costs 70 million. Let's be humble. And then it costs 50 million to market. Well, you know what, gentlemen and ladies? It's only made 121 domestic. It should be making like 200 domestic at this count, and there's no way it's going to make more than 133 million. 137 million at the very, very tops. We have a train called Avengers that's going to knock Shazam over. Very bad, and I'm very proud of HC, a comrade of mine who analyzes some of this box office. She pointed out to me how poor of an idea it was to release Shazam at this window of time. So HC is very sharp in that regard. I think I already went over Curse of La Llorona. Let's get to the meat of the potatoes here. Avengers presale. Avengers presale tickets at this particular theater at the South so far was around 11,000 up to yesterday, but now it's edging towards about 12,500, and that would be the projections of what it will be is around 48,000 if just judging by what Infinity War did. I don't think that this particular theater in the South and other theaters of its ilk, that's why I can't wait to get data from other theaters to do more intensive studies on this, to see what their maximum per theater average would be. I think that some of them may cap out around 50,000, some maybe as high as 70,000. I'm from an area called Ontario where they have a theater with 30 theaters there, so literally that one can make a huge amount of money. I'm estimating around it would skew the entire study quite considerably. 200,000, I guess, would be my number around there. So for that particular theater, so I do want to find more of this numerical data, and I'm estimating that this particular theater in the South is going to be around 36,000. So that's going to drive the average lower, but it's still going to be maxed out. So I'm thinking all these projections of it being so far north of 285 are not realistic, but I'm going to analyze this a lot further in the days ahead. And I think I covered pretty much all the big movies from this week. And here is the next video, and we'll hopefully do more soon. Thanks so much.